What if the biggest military invasion in human history was won by a lie? Not strategy, not firepower, not numbers. A lie. One so convincing that even when the real invasion started, the Germans still didn't believe it. This is Operation Bodyguard, the greatest deception in the history of warfare. It's 1944. The Allies need to invade Nazi-occupied Europe. Everyone knows it's coming. The Germans know it's coming. Hitler knows it's coming. The question isn't if, it's where. And here's the brutal reality. The English Channel coastline stretches for hundreds of miles. The Germans can't defend all of it equally. They have to guess where the Allies will land and pour their best men, tanks, and defenses into that spot. If they guess right, the invasion fails. Thousands die on the beach. The war drags on for years. If they guess wrong, the door opens and everything changes. So the Allies faced one impossible question before a single soldier ever set foot on a boat. How do you make the most powerful military machine in the world look the wrong way? The answer was audacious, ridiculous, almost insane. You build an entire fake army. Let me introduce you to FUSAG, the first United States Army group. On paper, massive, over 1 million men, hundreds of thousands of vehicles, a full military force stationed in southeast England pointed directly at Calais, France, the shortest crossing point across the Channel. In reality, it didn't exist. FUSAG was a ghost, a fiction, a collection of fake radio signals, inflatable tanks, empty tent camps, and carefully planted false documents. The Allies built dummy landing craft and parked them in harbors where German reconnaissance planes could photograph them. They set up fake fuel depots, fake military headquarters, fake supply routes. And then, the masterstroke, they put the most famous American general in the world in charge of it, General George S. Patton. The Germans respected Patton more than almost any other Allied commander. They expected him to lead the real invasion. So when their intelligence confirmed Patton was commanding a massive force in southeast England aimed at Calais, they believed every word of it. But a fake army alone isn't enough. You need someone to sell it. Enter the double agents. British intelligence had done something remarkable. They had identified and turned virtually every German spy operating in Britain. Instead of arresting them, they fed them false information and left them report back to Berlin. The most famous of these was a man known only as Garbo, a Spaniard who was so good at his job that the Germans gave him their highest military honor. What they didn't know was that he was working for the British the entire time. Garbo and his network of fake sub-agents fed German intelligence a steady stream of carefully crafted lies, troop movements that didn't happen, unit deployments that didn't exist, all pointing to one conclusion. The real invasion is coming at Calais. FUSAG is ready. Patton is in command. German intelligence swallowed it whole. And the beauty of it? The Allies weren't just making things up randomly. They were feeding the Germans what the Germans already wanted to believe. Here's the part that makes this so brilliant. The Germans had already decided on their own that Calais made the most sense. Think about it from their perspective. Calais is the closest point to England, shortest sea crossing, easiest logistics, most obvious route. Any military planner looking at a map would circle Calais first. The Allies knew this, so instead of trying to convince the Germans of something completely new, which is hard, they simply confirmed what the Germans already suspected. That's the deepest kind of deception. You're not planting a new idea, you're watering a seed that's already there. Every fake document, every ghost radio signal, every inflatable tank photographed from the air, all of it said the same thing. You are right, it's Calais, you figured it out. And so when Normandy actually happened, the Germans couldn't process it. It didn't fit their mental model. It had to be a feint. The real attack was still coming at Calais. Now let's talk about the man who might have stopped it all. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, arguably Germany's best battlefield commander. Hitler had put him in charge of defending the Atlantic Wall, the massive network of fortifications along the French coast. Rommel was obsessed with his mission. He personally drove thousands of miles inspecting defenses. He ordered millions of mines planted on the beaches. He knew that if the Allies got ashore and established a beachhead, Germany would struggle to push them back. His strategy was simple: stop them on the beach or lose the war. On the night of June 5, 1944, Rommel was not at his post. He had gone home to Germany to celebrate his wife's birthday. Why? Because the weather was terrible. Stormy seas, low visibility, heavy clouds. Every German meteorologist agreed no invasion force would attempt a crossing in these conditions, which was exactly what the Allies were counting on. Eisenhower's meteorologist had found a narrow 24-hour window of slightly improved weather buried inside the storm system. Not perfect, but enough. The Germans didn't see it. Rommel didn't see it. And so, on the morning of June 6, 1944, with their best commander at home and their attention fixed on Calais, the Allies landed on Normandy. Even on the day itself, the deception continued. In the hours before the beach landings, Allied planes dropped paratroopers across Normandy, but not just in their designated drop zones. Hundreds of dummy paratroopers, small burlap figures with noise-making devices, were dropped across a wide area. German units scrambled to respond. Reports flooded in from everywhere. Paratroopers here, paratroopers there. Nobody could tell what was real and what wasn't. And even as the real landings began on the beaches, German high command hesitated. Was this the main attack or a diversion before the real blow landed at Calais? Hitler himself refused to release the panzer reserves. He was convinced Normandy was a trick. He kept waiting for Patton, for Fusag, for the real invasion. It never came because it was always Normandy. Here's what's almost unbelievable. The deception didn't just work on D-Day, it kept working for weeks afterwards. Garbo sent an urgent message to his German handlers on the night of June 6th, after the Normandy landings had already begun. He told them this was a diversion, that his sources confirmed Fusag was still intact, that Patton was still waiting, that the real attack on Calais was imminent. German high command believed him. They actually recalled panzer divisions that had been ordered toward Normandy, pulling them back to defend Calais from an attack that was never going to happen. Those tanks could have pushed the Allied forces back into the sea. Instead, they sat at Calais, waiting. The window the Allies needed to establish their beachhead, to bring in men, vehicles, and supplies, stayed open long enough to change the course of the war. The Normandy invasion succeeded because of 1,000 acts of bravery on those beaches. That part is undeniable. But it was possible because of something less visible, something that happened in quiet offices, in fake radio rooms, in the minds of men and women who understood that the most powerful weapon in war isn't always a gun. Sometimes it's a story so carefully built, so perfectly tailored to what your enemy already believes that they can't see the truth even when it's right in front of them. The Germans lost D-Day before a single Allied boot hit the sand. They lost it to a ghost army, a fake general, a birthday trip home, and a lie so good it kept working after everyone already knew the truth. And that's Operation Bodyguard, the greatest con job in military history. Now I want to hear from you. If you were Eisenhower, would you have gambled the entire invasion on a break in the weather knowing Rommel wasn't there? Or would you have waited for a clearer window and risked losing the element of surprise? Drop your answer in the comments. There's no wrong answer here. This was genuinely one of the hardest calls in history. If this kind of story is your thing, the strategy, the psychology, the moments where everything almost went wrong, subscribe and hit the bell. We've got a lot more where this came from. See you in the next one.